Tears of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea. I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. The songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring in the spaces between because, hey, it's a grand adventure. Thank you for joining. Hi, can you hear me now? I hope you can hear me now. So this is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between.
Like
And
I couldn't go to work one day,
and
and they fired me because I couldn't go to work.
sorry about the
What we
background
did?
noise.
Hold on,
If you're
a leg in here. Sorry.
oh gosh darn, technology is just awesome.
Not like I fell and I hit a car
All right. Don't hit a car.
with
Um.
my face. Oh shit!
Oh,
Okay,
hold on, hold on, hold
that
on.
makes. Hey, how did you do that? I don't know. I was walking and then I was not walking anymore. So, you like give yourself a concussion or no?
All right. Hold on.
I
Hold on. Hold
like
on. Hold
bruised
on.
the whole left side of my chest. Yeah. Yeah. How the hell? I don't know. I guess I tripped or something. I don't know. I was like
What did
walking and
I
then
touch?
boom. And like I
Okay.
hit the. Well, no, it's
Hey,
funny now.
Twilight.
Like when
Twilight, my dear.
I hit the curb
Hello.
out of the
Hello.
car and
Hello.
breathe.
Twilight. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, can y'all hear me now? Hello. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hi. It's just technology because technology is my friend, right? Did I do it right? Can you hear me? I'm looking at YouTube world. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, goodness. So, I'm hoping you can hear me because I can't hear me, and normally I can. Oh, weird. All right. So, cool. Anyways, so we're being broadcast live because live is always an adventure, right? and Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And we're being broadcast on YouTube World, which I have chat on YouTube World. So, hi, everyone. I see Sonia and Hestia, Cameron, Gemini, Jessica. Um, Wood Wizard was in there. Hi. How you doing, Rick? And then, yes, that's my fireplace, my little fakey fireplace. And then off into TFR, I see All One, Grateful Soul. So hello, hello. And yeah, um, website. The spaces between live got the Patreon up and running. I'm adding content this weekend. It's www.patreon.com/. The spaces between. Etsy shop is etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio. And the reason why all of that audio is kind of going on is I have a guest. Um, her name is Twilight, and she does Twilight's Power Hour, talking about herbal witchcraft and such. And I'm gonna see if I can get her on. See if I do it right. Hi, Naysay or Megaphone Man. Hi, hold on. Let me Let me see if she's there. Hold on. Hey, Twilight, are you there? Hello? Maybe, maybe, maybe. Maybe. Why is it muted? I talk to myself all the time. This may not work. I was going to do this because I thought it'd be fun and it'd be interesting, and technology is just not working. Anyways, I'm live. I can take calls. So that call number is 213-233-3998, or across the pond in the UK. It is 287 or 44203-393 2871. I'm gonna pull her out and see if I can get her back up here. You know what? We may just have to do this another night because I don't want to argue with it. So, I guess plan B. So, what am I going to talk about? I don't know. Am I ready for Thanksgiving? Yes, actually. I have a family coming for Thanksgiving. So the grandkids will be here, which will be grand times, and the insanity will ensue because my daughter is all of 9 months older than my granddaughter, which is fun. So, yeah. I am ready for Thanksgiving. I've got my turkey is in the fridge thawing out, and I will be doing it's called spatchcock. I can't talk. Anyways, you cut up the spine and you butterfly it open, and so basically it takes not as much time for it to cook. And then I also brine it, and then I season it, and then I cook it on low and slow, and it's yummy, yummy, yummy. And then I'll be making pies. So, yeah, exactly, Rick. Fake it till you make it. So I guess last week, if I had ran out of time or had stuff come up, I was going to talk about the elements a bit. Yes, spatchcock. You're right. And it sounds horrible, but really you're just cutting the spine out of the bird and butterflying it open. It doesn't take near as long to cook then either. So, and then add all sorts of seasonings and herbs and butter. You can't cook a turkey without butter because, at least not in my world. And then let's see, what else are we doing? I don't know. Mashed potatoes, gravy, thing, the trimmings, stuffing. Yeah. So yeah, basically, yeah, gobble, 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 yum, yum, yum. So, excuse me. I will try, we will have to try next week to get Twilight on because it's just not working, and I'm not going to fight with it because I just don't have the energy, and honestly, I don't have the brain space to try to figure out a tech issue and talk at the same time. It's just a recipe for disaster and nothing but ums and uhs and So, last week I was going to talk about the elements, so I figured, yeah, sure, tonight we'll talk about the elements. So, there's 5 basics. There's the 4 elements. So there's earth, air, fire, and water. They're very important, generally speaking. And then the 5th element is also known as spirit. You may have heard it referred to as akasha or ether. And it's generally just call a teenager. Why am I calling a teenager? Oh yeah, yes, call a teenager for technology. Is there a more spiritual meaning to Thanksgiving? So, Thanksgiving is very basic. Was the history of it for those of you who may not know? It's just a time when the Puritans came to the U.S. and were settling as settlers, and they had survived a season, and they were giving thanks. And so it's just a time of Thanksgiving, pretty much, saying thank you. So is there a pagan association with Thanksgiving? No, it's completely 100% societal. However, that being said, it's a good time to just give thanks to the deities anyways, and your spirits, your spirit guides, your ancestors. It's, often there's shadow work happening right during this time of year also. We've got the SBAT. SBAT is coming up with the new moon here on Tuesday, I believe it is. And then we're just screaming towards Yule in December, which or Beltane, depending on which part of the world you're in. So yeah, just I don't know about anybody else, but this year is just screaming by. Okay, yes, Naysay, that's the PC story that the Americanites have been fed for the last couple hundred years. So yeah. I'm sure if any of you Facebook at all, you'll see that a lot of folks are talking about, the things they're giving thanks for this time of year. And sure, you know what? If you have a Book of Shadows, just like Woods Wizard has mentioned in YouTube World, it's a good time to start, a gratitude chapter in your Book of Shadow. What are you thankful for? And what has happened in the last year that gives you pause, that you want to stop and say thanks. Whether it's people coming into your life, maybe it's people leaving your life, because that's a real thing. It may be a growth of your path, or opportunities that have come up, or anything like that. So just what do you give thanks for? Now, I was talking to my friend Bella Luna, who will be a guest tomorrow night, and we're going to be talking about kind of some of the changes in kind of society's acceptance of paganism and witchcraft, and some concerns, and just kind of a round table. It may actually go over a little bit tomorrow night, because when Bella and I get to talking, we have a tendency to talk. So we'll see what happens, because it's a really, really good topic. There's a lot of things to talk about. So basics of the elements. Now, depending on your tradition, your path, your beliefs, etc., often people will associate the elements with excuse me, the cardinal points, and when they're casting a circle, and I don't know if it's because I consider myself an eclectic or not. Maybe I'm just going to go with it. Yes, I'm an eclectic. So for me, using the cardinal points and the different elements is a little bit more fluid. I don't have a set earth has to be north, because sometimes it isn't. It depends on what my ritual is or what I'm trying to do and accomplish. So it does vary. For example, earth is generally associated with the north. And I'm going off a basic Wiccan research here, just because I got to tell you, research in general, frustrating. There's a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of misinformation sites out there as well. And there's nothing more frustrating, and I've said this more than once, and I'll say it lots of times, getting through and researching and being, woohoo, this is exciting, I'm learning so much. Why are we talking about Skyrim? So yeah, it does vary just a bit, I think. So yeah, earth is generally connected to the north, air is generally connected to the east, fire with the south, and water with the, where am I, west? Yeah, I think it's west. And so I was really excited about having a guest because it's been a long week at work, and my brain is only kind of halfway working. It may be you, Sonia, it may be me. Honestly, it could very well be me because I don't know, I don't feel like I'm very loud tonight for some reason. So generally speaking, and I am being very general in this respect, because there is interpretation, of course. And I had all this research pulled up last week and I didn't use any of it, and I'm kind of frustrated. So anyways, Earth is generally considered very feminine, because the Earth is fertile. It's generally stable. It's just, the Gaia, associated with Gaia, so it's just very feminine. And upon the Earth, as the Earth turns with the seasons, and also the calendar wheel turns, we can see all the different various aspects of life, birth, life, death, and then rebirth. So it's just kind of a process of growth and regrowth. And so the Earth is generally considered very nurturing and full of strength, and is associated with green and brown, and also Earth is generally associated in tarot with the suit of pentacles or coins, if you're into tarot. And so, yes, Earth is very matronly, very motherly, and just very feminine. And that's why, when people talk about the Earth, generally they're speaking about Mother Earth. Air is generally, like I mentioned, associated with the East. It's, connected to the soul and the breath of life. And often, if you're doing some sort of working regarding like a communication or wisdoms or something to do with the focus of your mind, for instance, air may be the element to focus on, because air can also carry away your troubles. It could blow away strife. It could carry positive thoughts to, those who may be far away. Air is often associated with yellow and white, and is connected to the tarot suit of cards. So, and excuse me. Now, like if someone asks me to send them some energy because they need some healing, or they need to just know that they're connected with something, I'll actually, especially on a windy day, because I love the wind, I really connect with the wind, I'll use a piece of my hair, and I'll focus my energy into the strand of hair and let the wind carry it away. And that's me using air to put my energy out there. So someone in chat mentioned that if you live on like the Atlantic coast here in the US, then having water in the west seems very weird, because obviously water's in the east for them. And so it does, I think, just like so much of our path and our traditions and what we're doing in our learning, we really need to learn the different aspects and learn what the rituals are and the basics and the structure is. But then we also need to take that information and interpret it to our own selves, in our own path. And yes, I believe, Jessica, I am an air sign, because aren't I? I'm a Libra. Does that mean I'm an air sign? I'm an airhead. Bump, bump. Sorry, that just dates me a little bit. So let's see. The next one to talk about is fire. Now, fire is generally associated with a masculine energy. I think, trying to think, fire gods got like Aries, for instance. Not always. There are some goddesses very much associated with fire, so again, your own interpretation. And for this particular bit, it's saying fire is generally associated with the south and is very connected to a strong will, energy. Anybody who's been around a big bonfire, you know there's some energy there. Observe a wildfire of some sort. There's a lot of strength there. So fire is just very much a powerful thing. Because fire can both create and destroy. So it can symbolize the fertility of God. It can heal or harm, new life, bring new life or destroy the old and worn. So, interesting random factoid. There are some pine trees where the seeds themselves will not be released from the pine cones if they don't reach a certain temperature. So the only way to reseed or of a forest, for instance, and have some of that new growth come up is to actually have a fire go through and promote the pine cones to release their seeds so they can then propagate and grow new trees. So fire is very much a necessity. I mean, so much of the U.S. right now is kind of cold. I know it's in the low 20s here, I think, right at the moment. Texas is quite chilly, across the East Coast and everything. We chilly. We're expecting the white stuff to fall from the sky next week and this weekend. And fire is very comforting. It's very warm. I wish my little fireplace was a little closer and that it wasn't just a fakey fireplace. I wish it was a real one. I miss having a good fire. But anyways, in tarot, fire is generally connected to the suit of wands. And often red is associated with red and orange, which if you've ever gazed into the flame of a candle or your fire, like your bonfire or whatnot, red and yellow are pretty glowingly obvious, honestly. The next one is water. Water is generally pretty feminine in its energy and is very connected to the aspect of the goddess. Often water is used for cleansing, purification, healing. Where I'm at, it's associated with the west, but again, on a different coast, it may be a different direction, and is associated with passion and emotion. Now, in many paths, including several of the Abrahamic faiths and traditions, consecrated water does play a very major role. And often holy water is just regular water with salt added to it, and then a blessing or invocation is said above it. In some covens, for instance, water is often used to consecrate a circle, and tools that are going to be used. You might use it to cleanse your tools or your crystals or your stones or things that you may have gotten from like a thrift store or a yard sale. Water is often also associated with the color blue, and the tarot suit is the suit of cups. So yeah, water is often very cleansing. I know, like I have an old kind of fun-looking tequila bottle that has moon water in it from the spring solstice when we had the full moon on the solstice. For me, that's kind of extra special, and I use it for. It's got just more energy to it, or a different kind of energy to it. So I use it for different rituals and castings and such. Hey, it looks like Dawn just popped in. And then, and it just, I don't know, for me, personally, I'm very connected to the earth, the ground, under my feet. I think it's partly why I'm very connected with Groot, my oak tree. And then I'm also very, very connected with water. I love water. Hold on, I can't type and speak at the same time. Even when I was a little girl, often I would take a 5-gallon bucket and put it underneath the water hydrant, and I'd turn the water on and fill up the 5-gallon bucket full of cold water straight from the well, and then I would just sit in it on hot summer days. Granted, this was in the Midwest. Hot summer days are triple digits, so totally get it. But it was just kind of a good time. I've always loved water. Once I get into it, I have a hard time getting out of it. Doesn't matter if it's a lake, river, creek, stream, pond, puddle, pool, none of that. I just love sitting in water. So very connected. And often it's another way to ground or cleanse or let some of that negative energy flow. So, whoop. And just like that, we're at the bottom of the hour. Time flies when you're having fun or losing your mind. Seriously, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit more about water when I come back. Phone lines are open. It's 213-233-3998. Or if you'd rather send me an email, it's wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. And I will be right back if I know how to do this again. See you in a bit.
of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are adventuring off in the spaces between because, hey, it's an adventure. Oh my gosh. Call lines are open. It's what is it? You'd think I'd know this number by now. 213-233-3998. Or if you're in the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. Excuse me. Or you can email me at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And I have a caller. So, hold on just a moment and let me make sure I do this right. Let's see if I can technology. Hello, caller from Canada.
Hi,
Hi,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, okay, you can hear me.
Hi, Sonia.
Now, that remains to be seen if anyone wants to hear me. Ha, 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 ha. No, I was thinking, I was going to call in, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of uninteresting, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought, you're talking about elements, and then, you're mentioning that, your air, we're talking about the Western horoscope signs. And I thought, you know what? We're talking about Western horoscopes. We're talking about the air elements that we as pagans in general use and or worship depending on your practice. But what many people don't correspond with is, okay, so there's the Western horoscopes, and we all have water, air, fire, earth. And then there's the Eastern, the Chinese horoscopes. And quite often, the Chinese horoscope sign, if you know what yours is, the element is different than what your Western is. And I remember thinking, well, mine's contradictory until I stopped and I really looked into both signs and realized that the only way to get a true sense of self is with it all together. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or if you had something else on your mind. But yeah.
Sure, you can talk about that. You want to talk about that? I don't know that much about it. I think I'm a tiger.
You don't know much about your Chinese horoscope. Well then, lady, guess what? Do your research.
I know, right? Isn't that what I'm always saying? Do your research. Actually, no, we should probably do that and talk about Chinese horoscopes. Maybe we'll do that next week. I've done that one. That would be fun.
Sure.
Yeah, but you're right.
You're cutting in and out.
There's the Chinese horoscopes. There's the the Western ones. There's the Native American, or here in the U.S. I'm sure there are other indigenous peoples or First People horoscope type elements in other continents. Right? I think.
Well,
I think a lot of cultures have some sort of horoscope too.
Okay, I don't know if it's my phone or if it's you, my dear, but this is cutting in and out.
I hear, is that a Laura banging her pot in the background?
No, that's actually Ender. I just set him up with his G-tube, and in order for him, because he's got bad reflux, so when he's getting his G-tube feedings, he has to sit in his high chair. Well, that's boring to sit there for like an hour, so I always give him something interesting to play with. So that's him rattling around. Laura's standing in front of the TV staring at, it looks like it's Baby Bus.
I love the littles. So, yeah, I guess what, just trying to think, because we were talking about where was I? I was just talking about water. Now, yeah,
Sorry.
no, he's getting louder. A little independent mister. Um,
Oh yeah, he gets aggressive with that stuff. I tell you, he's got to do his thing.
all right. So, yes, I will give you. I'll send you a message or give you a call or something. Get your thoughts on the Chinese horoscopes, and we'll talk about it next week. And how's that?
Yeah, that sounds good. And actually, wouldn't mind talking, but it's either my end or your end. There's a lot of cutting in and out, so I'm gonna bow out
Okay.
and listen to your beautiful voice without mine interfering.
You're so silly. All right, I will talk to you later. Okay. Thanks. Bye, Sonia.
Sounds good. Bye.
Yes, little Mr. Ender may be a future drummer. Little drummer boy. He's a good guy. So yes, let's see. Tarot cup of cards or suit of cards. Yes, or suit of cups. Blah. I'm not allowed coffee after like 6 p.m. But some nights I really need it. So, and then the fifth element, we were just getting to that one, is also the spirit element of spirit, and it may be you may have heard it as akasha or aether. If you listen to Don Longbeard on Paranormal Portal, he goes by Aether Archives. So yeah, Aether. And generally, spirit is considered a bridge between the physical and the spiritual world. And I figured I'd go into that just a little bit more. And these all have different signs. So air is a triangle, like up. Water is a triangle down. And solid, or there's nothing in it. And then air it's a line across. I'm doing all these hand motions in front of the camera. And then fire is just a straight up triangle, nothing in it. And then earth, yeah, downward triangle with a line across it. And the spirit is the circle, like the wheel. Let's see. So, spirit often represents the prime element that is present in all things, providing a space, connection, balance, etc., for all elements to exist. Often spirit is very important when it comes to our sense of self and our connection with the spirit, our spirits, and our well-being. Spirit can also represent the sense of joy and union, transcendence, transformation, change, because spirit is everywhere and nowhere. It's it's everywhere. It's also the human spirit and the energy of the goddess and the gods. So, it doesn't generally have a gender associated, male or female. Because it is a universal energy, it's not really specific. Often white, black, or purple is associated with the element of spirit. Let's see. Often when we're doing spirit, we may think of like the infinity sign, or the wheel, or the pentacle itself. It's very often associated with the third eye chakra. Let's see. Generally, sixth sense, intuition. Yeah. I like this page. This would have been a better page. Doggone it. But yeah, it's, depending on what kind of. Oh gosh, I have another call. I'm sorry. I think this is Nace. Hold on. Hold that thought, and I will take this. Hello, caller. You're on the air from Fargo.
Good evening, Paisley. I apologize. I was hoping that you were going to finish your round of the elements before you grabbed me.
That's all
but
good.
If you want, you can put me on hold and finish. And then I was going to give you a little of my knowledge of history of Thanksgiving.
No, by all means. I think mostly I was just going to mention that, when doing a ritual of any kind, or casting or circle or any of that, the amount of energy from any of the elements will vary with what you want the outcome to be, and what you need to emphasize in each of those. So that was basically where I was going to stop before I went on to my next thought that I hadn't quite developed yet. So no, by all means, Naysay, what is what's up? So, because I know you have a different perspective
Well,
than what is taught in the
well,
mainstream education system.
yeah, absolutely. As an enrolled member of the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota, which is a branch of the Ojibwe, but that is the slave name that we were given by the French. The English called us Chippewa, but in our language it was called Anishinaabe. And if you look at history comparatively to his story, the victor always writes the history books.
Truth.
And if you look even before Columbus allegedly discovered America, the Knights Templar were also over here in North America shortly after 1307 when they ran away from France. But a lot of the early Polynesians and the Middle Easterns, they had maps of North American continent. When Europe finally decided to invade North America and South America, they knew that there were inhabitants there. So after Columbus came back, when the plagues were occurring in Europe, they would send, because there were so many bodies from the plagues, they would take all the dead bodies and put them on the old ships that were to be scuttlebutted. And the ships would hit the transatlantic current and crash upon the shores of North America. I believe this is the earliest known bio-warfare to occur, because the indigenous people, seeing these boats crashing upon their shores, would go and investigate, and lo and behold, there were all these diseased bodies, and thus the disease of Europe spread rampant throughout North America and South America. The Anishinaabe people, they estimate them alone over 30 million people were wiped out because of the spread of these diseases. Now, when the Pilgrims came to North America, lo and behold, they supposedly were blown off of course and landed in Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Now, if you look at the place of where they landed, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paisley.
No, I'm just saying yes. I'm agreeing with you, dear.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and feel free, because I can get long-winded sometimes. So, and I don't know what the clock is.
About 10 minutes.
So where they landed at Plymouth Rock, that happened to be an old town of the Anishinaabe. A huge village used to actually be there. So they encroached on a village that was wiped out. Now, also where they landed was exactly between the boundaries of the Anishinaabe people and the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois Confederacy were called the Five Civilized Tribes that gathered together and basically signed a treaty that said if the Anishinaabe tried to flex their numbers and encroach any more south, we will band together and we will fight against them. So when the early Puritans came, the Pilgrims, they were already befriended to the Iroquois people. And so, giving them trade and whatnot, the Pilgrims were afraid of the Native Americans to the north of the town. And these were the Anishinaabe people. Well, the Puritans told the Iroquois, who had a little bit of a feud with the Anishinaabe people, they said, hey, if you team up with us, we will give you weapons, and let's go and take care of them. And the standing order was, by sunrise, not a single soul is to be left alive. And so they attacked at sunset and wiped out this entire community or village. And after they had the success, they came back and they had a feast. And that feast of their success, of partnership, is what now has been turned into Thanksgiving. And George Washington was actually the one who tried to initiate this, because George Washington was not a fan of the Native Americans. And so when you look, and George Washington in the state of Virginia and in Massachusetts and a lot of the other ones, they would do these victory parties, these victory feasts, in remembrance of that first campaign. And what was occurring, that they were happening so sporadically in the fall, then the government declared, let's do this and pick a date so everybody can do it at the same time, and so it's not so disruptive in all the major cities that were sprouting up in the early colonial times. And so I hope I don't ruin your Thanksgiving,
No.
because I think every individual should utilize it for their own feelings of being thankful. But just remember, when you're being thankful, be thankful for the land that we are on.
Yes. I know that, Thanksgiving doesn't mean today what it did even 20 years ago, as our society has changed. It just, it's a growing thing, and so often we've forgotten where the roots of the different holidays have originated. I mean, we've only recently, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, really started acknowledging the roots of a lot of the Christian holidays are well within paganism, and there's just been I don't know, it's been a trend. It's been an interesting time as people have kind of awoken to the origins of a lot of our major societal events, at least here in the U.S.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, that is one of the beautiful, and the double-edged sword of the internet, because we are having the opportunity to start learning the truth, but the biggest challenge is to sift through the abundance of so many people proclaiming to have the truth. And as I started with the story from the beginning, unfortunately, the powers that should not be are the ones that write the history books.
Yeah.
And you can tell this if you look at a history book, and I'm dating myself, a history book 30, 40 years ago is completely different from the ones that my daughters are telling me about.
No, this is very, very true. I have, it's now considered an antique Britannica set of encyclopedia set, and so much of the information has changed. It's worded differently, it's phrased differently, it's emphasized differently, and You can tell even, with textbooks in public school and whatever, the mainstream is trying to preach at the time, that's the direction the books are written. And it's interesting to observe and often quite frustrating because I think there's a lot of information that's being lost in, the PC political correctness trend right now in the U.S. I think we're losing out on a lot of important history because it's not politically correct anymore.
Oh, absolutely. And for the chat, the young ones that are in the chat room, a encyclopedia is a book that has a bunch of words in it, and they are describing all the different occurrences in the history. I don't know if how many people remember what a book is or an encyclopedia.
Yeah, there's. I do enjoy having my Kindle and my e-reader and all of that, but there's just something about paper and having a book.
Well, I have to admit, now that I've lost my sight, I see better. And since I've lost my sight, I've read hundreds and hundreds of books now because audiobooks,
Mm-hmm.
because you can listen to an audiobook and you can just keep on doing what you're doing throughout the day.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I took well advantage of it and all the different technological advancements for helping me, even my adaptive devices will read PDF books.
Nice.
And so so I look at my blessing as, I stuffed my head with a bunch of unnecessary stuff and a couple decent brain farts also.
Hey, if you don't throw some fiction in there, it's kind of like, all news and nothing but news. You get kind of boring after a while. You got to throw in some fiction and adventure. That's just all there is to it. So, um, I I use podcasts and YouTube videos a lot when I drive about 40 minutes to work, and so I have some sort of audio going at any given time, just because it's a great opportunity for me to listen to whatever I want to listen to while I'm driving down the road. And sometimes it's music, and other times it's stuff that's really good for my brain. And sometimes it's just
And if
drivel. What's that?
oh, I'm sorry, but if there's one thing that I can share from my experiences and my perspective, if you want to utilize real magic, I say magic with a K, draw a circle and put a center dot in that circle. And then from that center dot, start putting other dots around the circle, starting with one and then connecting the dot and then a second one. And always try to find the balance of when you add another dot.
Okay.
And as you keep drawing the circles and adding, you look at it with one dot, it's in the center. If it's two dots, you're dividing the circle. If it's three dots, you have a triangle. If it's four dots, a square. And you continue to do this, and you place those dots equally. But then as you're seeing that two-dimensional shape, now try thinking of it as a third-dimensional shape within a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And you top that on, and the cherry of the cake is figure out what is in the center of a magnet, and I can absolutely guarantee you can do magic.
Okay. I will have to do that or try that. Not on camera,
And
but yes.
well, thank you again, Paisley, for having a wonderful night. And I know these kids are helping us a little bit more than we can imagine on our technological devices.
This is true. Yeah, I've got just about a minute left. So thank you, Naysay, for calling in, and thank you, Sonia. And have a good evening, and we will be on live tomorrow night. So yeah, I think you'll like tomorrow night's show, Naysay. So I wouldn't be surprised if you called in.
Thank you.
All right.
Toodles.
Bye. So, and just like that, holy cow, it's been an hour. Tech issues and all. So thank you guys for calling in. I appreciate it. You kept my brain from totally blowing up. We will be live tomorrow night with Bella Luna, and we're talking about some of the trends in society and paganism, and witchcraft and such, and some concerns and some positive thoughts there too. So, merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow night. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't say thank you enough because you guys are awesome. Check out the website, www.thespacesbetween.live. Good night.